Hi, my name is Ladarius Davis. I am 30 years old. I currently reside in Villa Rica, Georgia. I am a full-time photographer and content creator.
Hi, how are you? My name is Manny Ventura, and I was born with a cleft lip. You know, one of my number one callings in life is to be a speaker and to share my story.
Hi everyone. My name is Nathan Kahina. I'm 21 years old. Currently, right now, I'm in school for pre-med biology to hopefully maybe become a plastic surgeon. Right now, I currently do social media as well. So I'm kind of been balancing the two.
Hello, my name is Rene Fuganti. I am a speaker and I currently live in San Antonio, Texas.
Hi guys, my name is Grace Anto. I am 15 years old. A big passion for me is dance. I started when I was about 3.
Hi, I'm Iva Ballou, CEO and founder of Real Sophisticated Joy. I'm a cleft confidence coach and a transformational speaker.
Hi, my name is Nicholas Nikiforu. I'm 15 years old and I'm an anti-bullying ambassador.
Hi, my name is Crystal Corey Reina Farhe, and I live in Stevenson Ranch, California. Of course, there's a tractor in the background right now.
Hi, I'm Christine Meyer. I'm a retired NYPD sergeant turned author, speaker, and coach.
For so long, I have allowed others to create my story for me because I was afraid to use my voice. I used to think that my voice didn't have any power. Once I learned to embrace who I am as a person and learned to love myself, I learned that my words do have power, that I do have a voice.
Throughout, my journey of finding out who I was, that's when it gave me the light, the spark to say, hey, I bet there are other kids out there that struggle with the same things that I've struggled with throughout my life.
I've had over 37 facial reconstruction surgeries, as you can tell. I was born a little different, but I like to be different. My whole goal in life is just to inspire everyone. So if I can inspire you to brush your teeth, take a shower, do anything, any form of inspiration I can provide, I'm happy.
What inspires me to do all the speaking is my daughter, Rebecca. She was born with a limb difference. She does not have her left hand.
I was born with a large CMN across my face, and when I was young, it had to be removed. Obviously, I have a difference, and that's why I was picked on throughout my childhood and still somewhat to this day.
We have such a great time with these kids. PJ is so warmly received by them. It's such a positive experience for him, not only to hear me advocate for him and have him learn by listening to me to advocate for himself, but also just to interact with these kids in such a positive way.
What inspires me is the ability to use my own challenges that I've overcome to help others do the same. Whatever somebody thinks they can't do or is afraid to do, helping them do that. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning.
I believe that I have the power to use my voice and my experiences of growing up with a cleft journey to help others go from contempt to confidence in their journey.
When I would be talking to students at schools, I would always end it with my quote that I came up with. My quote is, "Don't let fear take over your happiness."
Disability does not mean inability. Just because I look different, it doesn't mean that I don't have talents. It doesn't mean that I am not special. It doesn't mean that I'm not loved. And I know that I'm all of those things.
We may just look a little bit different, but boy, do we smile a whole lot more than most people.
Hi, I'm David Roche, your host for this program, Encounter the Power of Facial Distance. First of all, I want to thank the Children's Craniofacial Association for sponsoring and making this event happen. And I note that this is a kickoff for their own day-to-day program of Encounter the Power of Facial Distance, where they will encourage and support the voices of people with facial difference, as you saw in the beginning there. Now, 33 years ago, as I stood at a microphone talking about facial difference, I was very alone. Since then, as the years have gone by, I've become an author, an actor on stage and screen. I go to schools, I'm a keynote speaker, and I recently received the Order of Canada. This is little lapel pin right here. And I'm also funny. Sometimes I'm funny. I hope so, anyway. Now, anyway, a third of a century later, I see around me a community, a global community of people with facial difference who are speaking out and telling the truth about our lives. The power of facial difference is this. We know how to find our beauty inside ourselves. Yes, we've been forced to, no difference. Everybody, including you, has a place inside themselves where you hide your fear, your self-doubt, your guilt, all that sort of thing. Now, we who have a facial difference, we know how to clean out that little spot. You need to do that too, because if you don't, that is where the predators come to feed. They come after you, the financial predators, the sexual predators, the political predators. They want you to fear. We know how to deal with stuff like that. So listen tonight as we talk about Encounter the Power of Facial Difference. Now, I want to welcome Erica Clowder, the Executive Director of the Children's Craniofacial Association. She's a fantastic executive director, not a bossy executive director. What she does, she encourages. She builds community. The years that she has been director have been fantastic years for CCA. So I want you to welcome Erica and also Khadija Moulton. She is the outreach director for Children's Craniofacial Association. She's the one who keeps Encounter the Power of Facial Difference going, alive, on a day-to-day basis. She's the one with boots on the ground. She also has great heart and great competence. So here they are, Erica and Khadija.
Thank you so much, David, for those incredibly kind words. As David said, I am Erica Clowder, the Executive Director of Children's Craniofacial Association. Before we get too far in tonight, I just really earnestly and quickly want to extend our hearts to those in the path of Hurricane Ian and those who are already trying to assess and mitigate the damage. We want you to know that we're thinking of you. CCA has both speakers and a board member there and just so many other people we care about in those areas. So those who are suffering during this stressful time, just know our hearts are with you. Okay. It is now my ultimate pleasure to be a part of this event, which is both in a way a culmination of a decade of work, but also a launch pad for the next chapter of CCA's advocacy. You see, 10 years ago, in 2012, the book Wonder came out. One of our board members, Dee Dee Dankelson, brought us all a hard copy of the book to our board retreat that year and handed it out and said, "You've got to read this." This is a game changer. She and other board members, we all read it immediately, and we all pledged to go all in on this message of bringing kindness and acceptance to schools and students across the country. Peter Dankelson, Dee Dee's son, who you'll hear from later tonight, was our very first Wonder Kid. And together, he and his family started a literal tour across the country, bringing the book to life. But more importantly, their mission was to show these students that we, despite our different appearances, we're not monsters, we're not scary, we're not villains. We are truly more alike than different. Soon, dozens of other CCA kids joined on as student speakers. And through this program, we saw it growing. But more than the growth and the adoption of schools across the country, we recognized the power that this had on our CCA kids. It was the power of self-advocacy. If our kids could speak confidently, publicly, well, then they were also more equipped to stand up to the bullies, to ask for help when they needed it, to raise their hand to read aloud in class, to ask another student out to homecoming, and to eventually ace that job interview of their dreams. This program wasn't just educating the world about facial differences, it was changing the way our CCA kids saw themselves. It took that question that we all of us sometimes ask, usually in our bathroom mirror, staring with tears running down our face. Why was I born this way? And it took that painful question and turned it into a powerful, proud statement. I was born to do this. This work of changing lives with my story. Another former board member, Russell Newman, suggested that really we need to train and invest in these speakers. We need to, yes, streamline their message so everybody's on the same page, but we also need to equip these students to handle the emotional highs and lows of going into schools and sharing their stories. Because oftentimes, most times, the students who heard the message would then share back their own stories of bullying, isolation, and other traumas. It was a challenge to take on, and we took on that challenge, and the Speakers Bureau was born. Khadijah Moten, our outreach director, was hired to facilitate, manage, and grow our Speakers Bureau. And tonight you can see truly what an amazing job she's done. She consulted with David Roche, Marlena Blavin, Patricia Simon, the Dankelsons, and most recently, Dr. Jasmine Gray and Rasheera Dopson, to build a library of training videos, tip sheets, and quizzes to equip our speakers and to help new people train with these tools. She continues to coordinate and manage our speaking engagements by interfacing with schools and organizations who want to book our speakers. She tracks all of these encounters and reports back the feedback so we can continually improve and reinvest in this program. Khadijah.
Thank you so much, Erica. And thank you for the brief origin story on how the Speakers Bureau came to be. Thank you all for joining us. We are so pleased to present the very first encounter event, which is the true maturation of the Speakers Bureau. We believe in the impact of speaking sessions, and as you may have noticed based on the testimonials at the start of the event, so do the organizations who have already taken the step in inviting a speaker. Personal experiences and interactions create empathy, understanding, and bonds. We took a step in improving CCA's current Speakers Bureau through creating a financial component. A financial component to recognize the time, effort, and skills of our speakers. We established a speaker honorarium fee, which would include a percentage of the cost of travel that in the past, our speakers graciously would volunteer. We have taken the first step. In recognizing the efforts of our speakers, we now ask you to assist us. We need your help to break the stereotypes surrounding disabilities. We still have speakers who speak in classrooms, but we now want professionals in boardrooms too. We want our speakers, all who have careers and credentials in their own rights, to speak to their professions and fields of interest, while also creating training surrounding disability, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Our speakers can help your employees access their own resiliency and help motivate them to reach new personal heights. We have grown beyond our speakers standing on a stage saying, "Hey, I exist with a facial difference," to now our speakers going in and educating audiences on various topics, while their facial difference is merely a context clue to their success story. Tonight's event is just the tip of the iceberg in the training and speaking services we can offer. We hope that you'll be inspired and informed about facial differences and how appearance diversity is a human rights issue. But it's also a call to action. Each of tonight's speakers can be booked independently for a wide variety of engagements. I hope you all will inquire about these options and make it your mission to help advocate and to help advance the acceptance of facial difference by bringing a speaker into your spaces, such as your schools, your workplaces, your clubs, and other organizations. Because in the end, we envision a world where all people are accepted for who they are and not what they look like. Thank you so much for joining us, and we cannot wait to continue this conversation.
Thank you, Erica and Khadija. Now, I am so proud to be married to Marlena Blavin. She is a woman who brings so many gifts into the world, and they're all coated with love. Now, she and I together produced a film, Love at Second Sight, which is on YouTube for free. Go to loveatsecondsight.org. But in addition, Marlena has produced 2 other films in the last year and a half, one of which you're going to get a nice taste of tonight. There's, more to listen to, more to see. Here's Marlena Blavin.
I'm so moved. I hope I can speak because I'm crying. Like David, this event is a legacy for me as well. 10 years ago, I had a dream to have a song that was catchy and upbeat to tell the message of taking a second look at each other and ourselves. Music and catchy lyrics stay with me, sometimes more than something I've read or watched. Moving and dancing, it's like medicine for me. I thought it would be a great way for young people to take the message in. So a song was created by a local band in our community here in Roberts Creek, British Columbia. Once I saw how people liked the song, I had another vision to make a music video in a middle school, to have the kids create the story as they felt it. So at Lord Roberts Elementary School in Vancouver, British Columbia, BC, the kids wrote the story, made the costumes, and directed me and the filmmaker. They took charge. It was fantastic. My dream is that this music video will inspire storytelling and writing songs as a way to show the power of facial difference. If I can do it, anybody can. Thank you.
Love at emotions always messing with reality. Take a second glance, it's another chance. Never judge the cover of another circumstance. Your heart, my heart, they beat for love. My heart, your heart, fit like a glove. I see the light, it's in your eyes. Hold your head higher, let it shine. This is love at second sight. This is love that sees the light. See the person within, not the clothes, not the skin. See the light, look again, look again. Open up your heart, open up your mind. Don't miss this chance, life's a dance, love is yours to find. Inside everyone, there's a human heart, just like yours, just like yours. Your heart, my heart, they beat for love. My heart, your heart, fit like a glove. I see the light, it's in your eyes. Hold your head higher, let it shine. This is love at second sight. This is love that sees the light. See the person within, not the clothes, not the skin. See the light, look again, look again.
Love at second sight, when we shine so bright, when we see into another and we all unite. Take another look deep within. See deeper than the clothes, see deeper than the skin. A second impression, the light that shines through. Cause first impressions, well, they aren't so true. Fit like a glove, it's the perfect love. You ought to give another chance, but you do not judge. It's bigger than a face, this brand new place. And all around the world, we gotta find this space. Every time we meet, what we really ought to do is to realize we can have a different view. This chance we're given, this dance we do. It's a beautiful life, and you're beautiful too. Love at second sight, the love we all know. When we see inside each other, when we see a little more.
This is love at second sight. This is love that sees the light. See the person within, not the clothes, not the skin. See the light, look again, look again. This is love at second sight. This is love that sees the light. See the person within, not the clothes, not the skin.
Wow, that always gets me. Thank you, Marlena. I first met Rasheera Dopson at a Children's Craniofacial Association retreat where Marlena and I were teaching storytelling. So Rasheera walks in. As soon as she steps up and starts to speak, I'm like, wow. We think that we're teaching her. She's got a lot more than we know. Rasheera, her faith inspires who she is, her message, her presence, what she has to offer. Please welcome Rasheera Dopson.
Thank you, David, so much for that wonderful introduction. Good evening, everyone. I'm here to talk to you about moving from equality to equity. So by day, I work as a public health researcher. However, outside of my 9-to-5 job, I wear many different hats. I am a social media influencer. I'm an advocate. I'm a podcast host. I'm an author, a public speaker, and I'm an organizer. However, in each space that I occupy and in each hat that I wear, my most favorite hat that I love to wear is that of a champion of equity. You know, much of my research centers around exploring the advancement of health equity among marginalized population groups. Now, I know that's a really hefty title, right? But basically, what it means is that I look for ways and solutions to improve the health care of people. But most importantly, I look to improve equity within our healthcare system. So I know by now most of you are like, what exactly is equity, right? I don't know if you're like me, but I feel like I hear that word everywhere. Equity this and equity that. And maybe to provide you a little context, most of us have heard the word equity in DEI initiatives, which basically stand for diversity, equity, there's that word again, and inclusion. So I know you may be thinking, what does equity have to do with me? Great question. I'll explain. Let's start off with a basic working definition of what equity means. If you go in the dictionary, equity can be defined as equal, fair, or impartial treatment. However, I like to add a little bit onto this definition and say that equity is making sure that people, all people, regardless of their race, their gender, their disability, their sex, their socioeconomic status, or religion, can get the support and the resources that they need in order to thrive. However, equity is much different than equality. What's equality? You know what equality is. It's basically saying that everyone gets the same treatment. However, this differs from equity because equity requires that each person is treated according to his or her individual and specific need. So let me ask you this question. What do you need? Let's all think about this for a moment, right? Because we all have needs. My needs look a lot different from your needs. However, all of our needs are specific to who we are as individuals. So all of the above I just mentioned and all the different scenarios, we can look to all of this as core principles to equity. Each of us looking at our needs in relation to our identity, in relation to our disability, in relation to our education, in relation to our career, in relation to our facial difference or the lack thereof. All of us stand and have a degree of equity that we need. So when I break it down this way, it hits home, huh? Good, because my goal here today is not to make equity sound like this big, large thing. Equity isn't a hard thing. Well, matter of fact, it's quite easy, but only if we work hard and we truly consider the needs of others. Like I said, my job here tonight is to get you to see the significance of equity in our own lives and why we should all become champions in advancing equity. I may be the expert, but each of you are the expert in your own individual lived experiences. When you are at your jobs, we need to be thinking, how can we advance and achieve equity in the workplace? If you're at school, how can we achieve and advance equity in the classroom? Whether you're in a hospital or a boardroom and you're providing services, how can I make sure I'm doing all of these things and providing all of these services through the lens of equity? Like I said, my goal this evening is to shift your mindset so that when you leave the space, you're always thinking and you're serving humanity through the lens of equity. Because equity has nothing to do with your race or your skin color. Let's debunk that myth right now. Equity is basically a framework, and a framework is simply a fancy schmancy term to basically name a foundation, a structure that is set in place to teach a particular concept. And the concept we're talking about tonight is equity. And how can we achieve that for the facial difference community? So now that I have your brains moving, I'm sure you're wondering, all right, so how does equity apply in my own life directly? Another great question. Because equity is a vital concept for all of us to understand, because it not only impacts those without facial differences, but it greatly impacts those living with facial differences and disabilities. Here's a prime example of where I have personally experienced inequity in my own life. I became an advocate in my own community because I was searching for pathways to equity. I was looking and I was in need of a specific need and a specific resource. I can recall that when I was having my 103rd surgery, and after I'd gone through 8 different referrals and went through this long process, I was standing at the end of the road, still with the answer of no. I found out that my insurance provider at the time had, again, denied the medical procedure that I needed. And even though I knew that this procedure was medically necessary, my insurance company and the healthcare system deemed to be inequitable. Because I had a specific need because I have golden heart syndrome. So I began to challenge my state's healthcare system and the policies in advocating for people with facial differences, people with craniofacial conditions, that they should be allowed to get dental coverage and have it deemed as medically necessary, not so we can get a payment break, but because it was equitable to our conditions. And because our conditions, most of us, it relies on our facial and bone structure, and our oral and hygiene health was crucial to our livelihood. And by our insurances denying access to these treatments was basically indirectly discriminating against us because of our conditions. This is just a way I was showing my state healthcare system how the policies that were enacted were inequitable for people specific with my type of condition. This was my specific need, and I needed to advance equity. Now, although I have not necessarily changed the healthcare policy, this is a very big task. It is an ongoing goal, and for me to stand in my truth. And I won't stop talking about it until every child and every adult with a craniofacial disability has the coverage and access to healthcare that they need in the way that they need it. You see, the opportunity to advance equity is always present before us. But we must look at it and we must engage it head on. I take it as a personal responsibility as a Black woman with a disability who happens to live with a facial difference to challenge our perceptions around equality and around equity. Like I said, the framework of equity is applicable to the craniofacial community just as much as it is to any specific condition community. Because we all, especially us, we have very specific conditions and very specific needs. And so today, I challenge you to think of your equity needs from your own lived experience. What way can you advance equity in your life? And I challenge you to think in what ways can you advance equity in the lives of others. Thank you.
Thank you, Rasheera, for that. Dr. Jas Gray is a professor at Pepperdine University, and yes, she is very intelligent, but also very deep, and she's not the kind of professor who goes like this. She lifts you and lifts you with her intelligence and with a heart that informs her power. Please welcome Dr. Jas Gray.
Smooth brown skin and big round eyes. I had the rosiest cheeks and the widest smile. I was the apple of my daddy's eye. They said I looked just like him. And as I grew, I became more and more like my mother. Her personality, outgoing, assertive, and sassy. And also her way with words. In 2nd grade, I learned cursive, and my letters became art. In 3rd grade, I learned how to write an essay. Introduction, body, conclusion. My words became expressions of who I am and what I had to say in my little world. Until the 4th grade, when the world seemed to stop. Neither my mother nor my father could prepare me for the turn my story would take. From the age of 9 until very recently, my life was turned upside down by a disfiguring disability that not only caused me immense pain, but destroyed my facial appearance, piece by piece. The tongue, the teeth, the muscles, the mandible, these organs we take for granted, these ones that give us speech, all stolen from me. For quite some time, I was silenced. Depressed by surgery after surgery, displaced within a body that no longer felt like home. Until I was on the floor of my bedroom one night, head wrapped in a bandage, mouth swollen shut, down on my hands and on my knees, begging God, pleading with him to give me back my words, to give me back my worth. And as I lay there in the stillness, my face planted on the hardwood, my eyes closed, the events of my life began to play. At first, like a VHS tape that was worn too thin, skipping from one scene to the next. That time my mouth would not stop bleeding. That time I was rushed to the hospital and I thought I was dying. That time I woke up and half of my face was missing. But then I began to slow each scene down, to look at each from different angles, until I began to hear an almost audible click. That time I learned that I could swipe up blood, run to class, and ace a statistics test with cotton balls stuck into the insides of my mouth. Click. That time I learned that not even fear of death could thwart the spirits of a girl whose heart had refused to give up. Click. That time I learned to recognize my biggest blessing. A family that would go through hell and high water to help preserve my life. Click. As I took deep breaths with my head still on that hardwood, I worked to quiet my soul, to quiet my mind, my emotions, and my actions. I began to see the connections between the events in my experiences. And as I rose up off that hardwood floor, I began to seek those same connections. The meaninglessness, happenstances of life, tough luck, began to speak loudly to me. And as I listened to the lessons of my life, I was transformed. Scenes that had once seemed desperate and disconnected were reconstructed into a new story. I once again had something to say. And so do you. Meaning is made when we decide to see, to seek, and to seize the divine connections between the scenes of our story. We rediscover the voice we have to speak aloud, the new sense we've made of our lives. As you share your story in whatever ways you can, you not only reassert your worth, but you rescue others. You inspire their minds to see important life scenes with fresh eyes. You evoke their emotions to seek connections that construct new narratives. And you ignite their action as they seize opportunities to change others through their story, just as your story changed them. And that is how story transforms the soul.
Oh, thank you so much, Jazz. I know I've heard you give this piece before, but it gets me every time. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you, Rasheera. I am so honored to present these awards tonight. We've talked briefly about how the Speakers Bureau began. We've seen and heard from two of our most recent consultants. And tonight, we want to offer this award, recognizing the efforts of our speakers and advocates. It has been a long time in the works, another one of these projects suggested by our board members. And it has taken some time because we wanted to get it right. But we are confident now that we have arrived at the best way to honor an outstanding advocate each year, and two this year. The way that we will do this is the David Roche Award for Excellence in Advocacy. It is with the gracious funding of the Ananda Fund that we present this inaugural David Roche Award for Excellence in Advocacy. This award will be bestowed annually on a speaker, educator, a storyteller, an artist, a medical professional, or a family member in the facial difference community who has gone above and beyond to advance the status of people with facial differences, to promote acceptance and appreciation of appearance diversity, and who has challenged the stigma that surrounds physical differences. The award is named in the honor of the esteemed David Roche, member of the Order of Canada, for his lifelong dedication to opening minds and connecting hearts, and for his invaluable mentorship and support of the staff of Children's Craniofacial Association. You'll see in a minute, the award is in the shape of a heart because David is a champion of love. He seeks to break down barriers and build bridges between diverse communities. David is an incredible listener who after years of finding and honing his own voice has lifted thousands of others' voices and helped them reach new audiences. David cultivates confidence and creates spaces for conversations. His core characteristics of warmth, wit, and authenticity have changed the hearts of many and have lifted the spirits of those in the facial difference community. It is with our utmost gratitude for his and his wife Marlena's body of work and their genuine interest in giving back that we established this award in his name. The award will be given each September, which is Craniofacial Acceptance Month. The award will come with a monetary honorarium of $500. The award will be selected by the David Roche Award for Excellence in Advocacy Committee, which will initially be made up of the CCA Executive Director, Outreach Director, David himself, and past award recipients. We will take nominations for this award and we will solicit them every year in June and July, and the committee plans to meet each August to select a new winner each year. Above all, the recipient of this award should display the characteristics that embody David and Marlena's lifetime of work: remarkable spirit, warmth, wit, and authenticity. With that, I would like to give the first ever award over to David with the depth of gratitude from my own heart for encountering CCA and engaging us in his incredible legacy. David.
Oh my God. I am so honored. I think my family, who always told me to be a good boy, and now I realize that I am. Patrick, Teresa, Michael, our godchild Kai, all of you. I thank you, Marlena, for being such a wonderful, loving partner. I thank my wonderful daughter, Amy. I thank all of my wonderful friends. I am here because I've been carried on the shoulders of other people. So let me say, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Again, thank you.
You are so, so welcome, David. And another reason we chose this heart, I just have to add, is because when we were doing this consulting work, so often David would do this at the end of Zoom calls because we did a lot of it during the pandemic. And so, again, just tying it all back to everything you've invested. The next award, or the inaugural award recipients that we are passing on, is Rasheera Dopson. I'm very thrilled to present this award to someone that I've gotten to know over the past several years. And I've truly seen her influence grow tremendously, starting in the facial difference community, but going so far beyond that. Rasheera has such a gracious spirit in that she always extends herself to see the best in others. And I believe this stems from both her faith and her confidence in herself. One thing that truly separates Rasheera as an advocate is her ability to withstand external doubt and criticism, even from within the community that she's serving, without ever giving up or getting bitter. I mention this because that is advocacy. On this path, you will have the haters. And I can say personally, I've seen Rasheera have to deal with that side of the work, and she's done so beautifully. Now, that's not to say she has a lot of haters. Quite the contrary. She has mostly admirers and people passionately invested in her success as we are here tonight. But I have to point that out, her resilience, because when awarding excellence in advocacy, resiliency is a major part of that work. It what separates somebody from trying something out to accomplishing major goals and propelling a movement forward. So, This award goes to Rasheera Dopson, Master of Public Health, who is a disability justice advocate, author, scholar, public speaker, content creator, and researcher. She is the founder of the Dopson Foundation and the Beauty with a Twist brand, which was established in early 2020 to increase representation, social justice, professional and health equity for women and girls with disabilities. This past year, she received her master's in public health from the Morehouse School of Medicine, where she now works as a researcher in their Health IT Research and Policy Division. She's working on research studies related to health equity, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and inclusive research design practices. Her advocacy efforts have been recognized nationwide, in which she has shared her disability health journey on national platforms, including the Ford Foundation, the American Association of People with Disabilities, the Bazelon Center, the Georgia Council of Developmental Disabilities, the Lily at the Washington Post, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the Mighty, Yahoo News, WXTV News Indiana, plus many major healthcare systems, such as the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, Baylor College of Medicine at Texas Children's Health, University of California, San Francisco Benoff, ConnectMed International, Face Equality International, MyFace, and of course, CCA Kids. Rasheera, I proudly and happily present this award to you.
Wow. Oh man, thank you so much, Erica. I think you changed the words from rehearsal. When I was thinking what to say, because they were like, "Do you have a script?" And I was like, I'm just gonna say what's on my heart, because I think what comes from the heart goes to the heart, right? I remember the first time I attended a CCA retreat, which was about, I feel like 5 years ago. God, I'm getting old. And I had no idea what I was stepping into. I think I just finished reading the book Wonder. And I read the book and I was bawling in tears, because it was the first time, even if the character was non-fictional, it was the first time I read someone in a book who had a remote idea of what I was going through as a person with a facial difference. And I remember I called the office and I was like, "I see you guys having a website that you do retreat and I want to go." I think I was speaking to Annie at the time. And then I ended up talking to Erica, and next thing I knew is I was in Virginia, because I think I went to the one in Reston, Virginia, in a room full of people with varying degrees of facial differences. And I remember going back to my hotel room that night, and tears just started hitting my pillow. It was the first time I had ever encountered in my life being in so many rooms with people with facial differences. And so to think of that's where I started as a little Black girl from the Bay Area in California, growing up and feeling so alone, and being introduced into a community of where I started is it's very humbling. And like Erica said through my bio, I have now scraped the surface in disability justice work and connecting what I've learned just from my specific condition in the craniofacial community, and connecting it to a much larger cause, advocating for people like you and me to just have a place and a safe space in the world. I don't take that for granted. And so thank you to David for thinking of me, for considering me, for being the first person of contact. I actually have a picture of us with my big curly hair. And the first time I met you, you were just like, "You should speak more." I was like, "No, I don't like to speak." I was shy, but not really. But I'm so grateful for David for always being an advocate in my corner. Every advocate needs an advocate. And so thank you to David. Thank you for CCA for always being supportive throughout the years. And thank you to the craniofacial community for just understanding me and the core of who I am. That when I show up to spaces, I don't show up as a disabled girl, but I always specify I have a facial difference too, and you need to be aware of that. So thank you. I love you guys, and thank you so much for this award. I'm going to put it somewhere in my room.
Awesome. Thank you, Rasheera. You're so welcome. I have to remember that. Shy, but not really. That's what I love about our speakers and David especially. He pulls us out of those shy, but not really situations in our life. All right. I get to present the next award to another amazing human, Dr. Jazz Gray. I remember my first conversation with Jazz. It was connection at another retreat. And we were sharing our personal stories about being adults in this maintenance phase of surgeries, because surgery is different as an adult. And I just remember kind of getting into it. And her comment to me was so sincere, but also so matter of fact. I couldn't stop thinking about the way that she approached her medical issues for days. And I mean, we're at a conference to talk about these things. So it really, really made an impact on me. It's that sincerity and directness, plus her extensive knowledge, that I believe is the hallmark of Jazz's advocacy. She carries with her a wealth of lived experience and is willing to educate others, but her presence demands your attention before she's going to go there. Listening to Jazz has opened my eyes more than once. I remember when we were filming the videos that are a part of this project, and part of it was the piece that she did tonight, I kept getting chills and having aha moment after aha moment. And I'm like, how many of these can I have at a time? And by the way, I was like super pregnant. So I'm like, man, this is like something's going on. But it's like she was saying in perfect, direct sentences, something I'd been trying to wrap my head around for months. And so I guess that's why she's a professor of communication. Her expertise, in my opinion, is synthesizing complex feelings that we're all experiencing and helping break them down into bits and pieces that we can take a hold of and make actionable in our own lives. It's brilliant, truly. And it drives impact. It's amazing to agree with someone. It's super to connect and feel that connection. But it's a movement when they give you tools to use. Our tool, one of our tools, are our stories. And Dr. Jazz Gray believes that story transforms the soul. She's a narrative researcher with expertise in entertainment and patient narratives who is interested in both how people in marginalized communities can use narrative to develop resiliency and how the media production process can be used to empower those communities. She speaks, moderates panels, and leads workshops on a range of topics, including the power of stories, well-being, healthy self-image, patient-centered care, health equity, empowerment, media representation, and resilience. After earning a bachelor's with a concentration in journalism from Middle Tennessee State University and a master's in television, radio, and film from Syracuse University, she spent several years in Hollywood, working for companies including BET and Paramount Pictures. During that time, she founded the company's first ad hoc committee to address health-related diversity among employees. More recently, as a doctoral fellow at UNC Chapel Hill, Dr. Gray developed an innovative storytelling tool called life plotting, which repurposes the narrative structure and character arc underlying fictional stories for use by real people, empowering them with self-affirmation and story-sharing skills to learn about their own selves and to share their stories with others. Her dissertation work was presented at the 2022 International Communication Association Conference in Paris, France. Dr. Gray has also conducted communication research in Ghana and the UK, as well as presented research in China. Additionally, her sole authored piece, Taking Center Stage in the Face of Shame and Scars, was published earlier this year in the academic textbook Redefining Disability. Dr. Gray has been featured on affiliate networks for NBC, CBS, ABC, and Fox, discussing her advocacy work, and on national and international platforms, including NPR and BBC Radio, discussing media representation of marginalized communities, like those with craniofacial differences. Dr. Gray is currently an assistant professor in the communication division at Pepperdine University. She looks forward to continuing to support a new diverse generation of professionals in the communication field, as well as other disciplines like health, education, and business. She's also excited to continue centering her work in service. Her nonprofit, Jazz's Jammies, has collected over 17,000 pairs of jammies for hospitalized and displaced children and has engaged volunteer opportunities for over 8,000 people. Jazz, thank you so very much, and we happily give you this award.
Oh, thank you. So I'm a writer first, so I took some time to just think through what I wanted to say. Erica, thank you so much for your kind words, for your partnership and your support of me, of my gifts and of my skills. And again, this was my first time hearing what you had to say. So I was jotting notes down because I'm like, I want to remember like all those empowering and affirmative statements that you made about who I am and the unique skill set I bring to the table. So thank you for that. I want to also thank Annie for connecting us through what was a once in a lifetime opportunity to get to go to retreat. It was an experience for me the first time I could understand what it feels like to be in a room full of people who look like me. Never had that opportunity before, but I had it through CCA. So thank you to CCA. David, Roche, I want to say there's no one in the world like David. Your vision, your tireless service on behalf of our community, and your championing of those who have come after you, like me, they all speak to your heart. And along with your wife, Marlena, I am beyond honored to be honored with an award named after you. You and Marlena are the most impactful example of love and purposeful partnership that I've been able to witness in our community. And I am very grateful for both of you. Rasheera, my sister, my friend, my comrade in this path that God has put us on. I love you. I am beyond proud of you and am blessed to accept this inaugural award with you. To everyone in the Speakers Bureau, I'm grateful that our stories have intertwined, adding to a mighty tapestry of what has become a collective narrative and a collective movement. People with craniofacial conditions who are also professionals in our respective fields, who are working together to elevate the voices of others through effectively using our own. I'm excited for this new chapter of our organization, of CCA and of the Speakers Bureau, and for you to be compensated for the skill, the emotional energy, and the time it takes to do what you do as speakers. And last but not least, I want to thank my family, my mom, my dad, and my sister, also our extended family, and our tight, amazing circle of family friends for loving and supporting me, and for most importantly, helping me to see that God has had his hand in and on my life from the very beginning. This award is a confirmation, it's only confirmation that others see that divine call. And because God is no respecter of persons, God has called each of us in different ways. In the words of Pastor Jerry Flowers, when we leave this earth, there should be a problem that no longer exists. If you needed a push to answer God's calling on your life, let my story be it. I am a witness that all things, the good, the bad, and the ugly, can indeed work together for good. I'm excited to use the momentum of this award to continue serving God's purposes for my craniofacial community. Thank you.
Well, congratulations to Rasheera and Jasmine. How wonderful for both of you. And step forward more and more all the time. Now, for something a little different. I love Chicago. Marlena and I both grew up around Chicago, and so Chicago to me means pizza and hot dogs and Lake Michigan. But more than that, it means music. Now, Peter Dankelson is pretty much from Chicago. And so when I hear his music, I think of Chicago. It's fantastic. He's fantastic. Here's a couple minutes of Peter Dankelson. Jump on it and rock the house, Peter.
I'm Peter Dankelson from the Chicago area. Thank you for joining CCA Kids and Love at Second Sight for the Encounter event. I hope you're all enjoying this evening's events. This is a song that I wrote called Can't Stop Staring, and it's a song about my missing ear. Sorted out my day, my minute of the best. I just kept on staring, and they caused me some distress. Keep on staring, I just roll my eyes inside. They just keep on staring, 'cause my ear ain't by my side. Little boy at the store, looking for his store, and my ear said, "Walk by his door." He's staring, I just roll my eyes inside. He just keeps on staring, 'cause my ear ain't by my side. Listen up. Finished up my day, now it's time to rest. I just kept on staring, and they caused me some distress. Staring, I just roll my eyes inside. I wish they stopped staring and ease my worried mind.
Oh man, that's awesome. And that's an original song. And remember, Peter was our first student speaker ever. And now he's an actual literal working rock star. So thank you so much, Peter, and your whole family for starting this whole thing and continuing to rock it out. So we're about to close. We definitely have a panel that we would love anyone who can to stay on for. I will also encourage those who are attending for continuing education credit or other types of credit. If you just want to put your name in the YouTube chat, we'll get that. We'll make a record of it. We definitely want everyone attending for those credits to get that. But yes, please stay on for our live panel. You can also submit your questions to our speakers from tonight in that chat, and we'll do our best to answer those. And I just want to say before we get to that these speakers have graciously volunteered for years with CCA. We've said that a few times. You've heard that. And we will always continue that spirit of volunteerism at CCA, because I always say CCA is a group of people helping people. But we also want to recognize the time and talent of these speakers who take it to the next level. As Khadijah outlined, we're starting a program to pay small stipends to our speakers to recognize that time and treasure and talent. and to cover their travel costs mainly. Of course, we will never deny a school or a civic organization a speaker due to their inability to pay. But tonight, we would love to ask you, those who are able, to help fund this program with a donation. Your gift tonight will be used directly to cover this speaking program. For example, one of those things we often do will be reimburse mileage for regional speakers to go into Title I school classrooms. We want as many children as possible to hear the message of self-acceptance early on in their lives. And we want to continue to train our speakers who deliver this message to handle the emotional feedback they receive from these students during their speaking sessions. Training and travel are the costs of this program. A gift of $100 can get a speaker into a classroom, no doubt. A gift of $1,000 would cover the entire peer mentor training that we want to offer our entire Speakers Bureau. If you do not or cannot make a donation, you can also book a speaker. And please know, for the corporations that want to book our speakers, a portion of what you pay to book a professional is reinvested into this program. You truly give when you get. Thank you for being a part of tonight. Just being here, watching, your presence has made a huge impact on the work we do, and we appreciate all the donations we've received thus far for this immense, world-changing, life-affirming work. I want to turn it back over to the man of the hour, David Roche.
Thank you, the man of the hour. I like that. I'm saying thank you to all of you who are here tonight, and especially those of you who are online here and spoke. We're going to transfer in a moment to the question and answer panel. But first, need to say thanks. That is great ASL interpreting, especially during the song. I thought that was great. Good work. Thanks to Lindsay Adams, our producer and social media. She's a genius. Thank you, Kimmett, for your tech work, and basically being an online stage manager. And again, thanks to all of you. And now here comes the panel.
Thank you so much, David, and thank you for hosting this event. As David said, we want to thank all of you for joining us this evening. We know that we have attendees from all over the globe, and we truly do appreciate the support. I encourage you all to take the next step and learn how you can be a part of this change. To learn more, book a speaker, please visit ccakids.org. Now we will be having a panel discussion with today's speakers. As Erica mentioned, please leave your questions in the chat on YouTube, and we will pick a few to address. So the first question will be, how do you handle the weight and responsibilities of being an advocate? How do you hold space while keeping yourself healthy and in a positive mental space? If any of you want to, go ahead, David.
I dance a lot. That's it.
That's it, David. Just dance. That's all you have to do. I'll add to that. I think it's so important that we're able to balance the weight and responsibility of the work with what it takes to do this work over long periods of time. And so if we're always working and we never dance, we never sit down, we're not going to a therapist to talk through our issues, we're not smelling the roses, you're going to get burned out sooner rather than later. And as someone who wants to be 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years down the line, still having the stamina to do this work, I'm learning now how important it is to take time for myself and to fill my own cup, and also to allow others, to surround myself with others who will also fill my cup. And that's why I think that community and who you have around you becomes so important.
he on mute? It's on mute.
Rasheera, I think you might be on mute.
I'm going to add on to what you said. Am I muted now? I'm not muted. Okay. I think the key word here is responsibility, knowing what's your responsibility. I always say every mountain is not worth dying on, and I had to learn that the hard way in my advocacy journey, because there's so many areas of advocacy that you want to stand up for, but you really have to hone in and really put those key issues that you want to focus on, and then give the rest to someone else. You know, you're not meant to save the world. You can't save the world. That's why there's humanity. Other people will rise up even if you don't. So I think knowing what's your responsibility and trusting other people around you and giving them that responsibility. Learn how to delegate too. So yeah, that's my answer.
Awesome. Thank you. Erica, is there anything that you want to add on?
I think they said it well.
Okay. We'll go ahead and see what the next question is. As a craniofacial speaker, why do you think it is important to have conversations about facial differences with those outside of the facial difference community?
I guess I'll start with this one. To speak to Erica's point about not directness, I'll say that I feel like we have been in an echo chamber, those of us who are in the craniofacial community, where we all know how important our voices are. We know we're smart and capable. We know we have skill sets, and we need opportunities to share those with society. But until we cross over into communities of people that don't already know what we know, then we're just going to keep talking to ourselves, and it makes it harder for change to happen. Change happens through collaboration, through connection, through allyship, through, as Erica talked about earlier, other people, and I think Khadijah, you did as well, this idea that we need the people that are on this live right now to champion these causes. And Rasheera talked about championing equity wherever you are. So that's how change happens. It's not just on our community. Everyone has to feel like they have a stake in it. And that's why it's important to have these kinds of conversations.
David, you wanted to add something? Or Marlena?
It's Marlena. What I have found over the last 22 years that David and I have gone into the schools to speak is that by talking about this, by people seeing David, by seeing, you know, what it's like to feel uncomfortable to be around someone who has a facial difference. I think I represent that. I have seen the fear can melt in the room in about 10 minutes. You feel the uncomfortableness, especially 20 years ago. So I've seen the evolution of how this is changing, and it has to do with movements like CCA and, you know, Jazz and Rasheera for being out there, and David, of course, speaking and going out and speaking way long ago. And it's such a thrill to watch the fear, and then people start to see the beauty. It's so natural. And to give people who don't know how to be around people who are facially different, I think that's important, because people feel awkward and they don't know what to do. And that's the role that I think I would play in the conversation. And then people would say, oh yeah, I don't even see David as different now. And that was a real thrill. So keep it up.
Thank you, Marlena. Erica, Rasheera, would you guys like to add anything?
I will jump in and say I think it is 100% important to go outside of our community for so many reasons, but notably because of the universality of this message. Everyone has this thing, like David said, that makes them feel different. We are all struggling in this same unique way. Ours is just visible. And so by connecting that message to people outside the community, it binds us together as humans, and it helps us see other areas of difference that need to be understood and accepted and celebrated. And so I think it's just this global connection that we all feel this way at some point, and we can all make someone else not feel that way by virtue of knowing what to say to someone with a difference, knowing how to interact, knowing how to approach with kindness instead of, parents, for example, don't stare to your child. Say, hi, my name is. That tiny little edit that you make as a parent will shape how that child grows up. So it's important to have people outside the community understand how to help us.
Thank you, Erica. And I just want to be mindful about time, so we're just going to take one more question. There was talk about breaking stigma and speaking being an avenue to do so. How do we help advocate around facial differences if we are unable to book a speaker yet? So I guess the question is kind of like, if you're not able to bring in a speaker into a larger gathering, what as a person can do in the meantime? Yeah, go ahead, David.
I think just hearing in the introductions to Rasheera and Jazz, there's lots of stuff that both of you have put out that is highly instructive and encouraging and educational. So that, and then Marlena and I have done Love at Second Sight, which is great, and the little music video and other stuff like that. There's films and there's social media, and a lot of it is up to date too.
Thank you, David.
I think one of the beautiful things about our society and culture right now is the power of social media. I do a lot of social media advocacy. That's actually one of my main platforms, especially, since the pandemic. We all have to utilize these virtual platforms. And so I may not have a stage to speak on. And I think a lot of times people may see the work that I do and think they have to do that. Like they have to go to Capitol Hill or the White House to do all this big ticket advocacy. But advocacy starts with simply having a conversation with your boss. It can be having a conversation with a classmate who may not know anything about disability or facial differences. It can start there. And I always go in any room that I'm in, that if I can just interact and connect with one person that I can share my story or my lived experience with, then that's enough. Because that one person is going to go back and tell another person. And then we're going to go back and tell another person until when it spreads throughout the community, it creates a sense of synergy. And that's what we call in the advocacy community, grassroots advocacy by word of mouth. And so if you're not able to book a speaker, simply, if you're out of college, creating a group, like a student club around facial differences or a student disability club. If you're a teacher, maybe creating a safe space for your students and come in once a week and have talks about what they're feeling with, or if they're having any problems at school. If you're in a faith-based community, making sure that you have space for kids in the children's church. There's so many different ways and avenues that we can advocate or we can talk about facial difference and break stigma. But I realize that stigma is a mentality. And so in order to address the mentality, you just have to have a conversation first. And the more that you have conversations, the more that mentality begins to break down. So those are my thoughts with that.
Yeah, those are amazing thoughts. Thank you, Rasheera.
Rasheera, you ought to be a conversation coach.
That's a good term.
Okay. Well, we are going to go ahead and close out the panel. Thank you all for joining our panel. I'm actually going to pass it back to David to go ahead and close us out. But this will be saved on our YouTube. It does have everyone's websites and handles. If you want to continue to follow David and Marlena, to continue to follow Dr. Jazz and Rasheera, and all of the CCA information will also be there. So David, I'm going to pass it back to you.
There's nothing more to be said, but thank you to all the people who made this happen. Do you want to add something, honey?
I'm we've been working on this for about a year and a half. And it's just a thrill to see how this has blossomed. And then I still remember being in, I think it was Salt Lake City when I met all of you. And look what's evolved in all these years. It gives me hope. It's actually, we're doing it. We're changing the world. It's fantastic.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah. Good. So much gratitude. Blessings on all of you, and especially on our friends in Florida. Yes. Okay. This is my wife is telling me what to do. And so I already thanked everybody, hon. I did it. Okay. Thanks. Good night, all. Take care.